Hey everybody, welcome back to the Matt Report. As always, your host Matt, and I really should probably change that. Lisa, let's work on that introduction, right? Because it's always me. Maybe it'll be you someday when I'm feeling sick. But happy to be joined by Dayne Shuda, founder of GhostBlogWriters.com. Dayne, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me on.
Our good buddy Brian Castle had the opportunity to introduce you and talk, or interview you and talk to you, and I said, "Man, this guy's using WordPress and blogging. What a perfect fit for this audience." So we've invited you on today to talk about how you got involved into WordPress, what the business does today, and maybe you can give some insight to using WordPress in your business for better or for worse. So tell folks who you are and what you do.
All right, my name is Dayne Shuda, and the founder and owner of GhostBlogWriters, and what we do is we work with businesses, organizations, individuals to manage their, in most cases, their business blog, and a lot of times they just struggle to maintain the posting frequency that they want. They know they want to have a blog, content marketing, but they don't have the time to do it, so they'll hire us. We'll work with them to figure out what their marketing goals are, who their target customer is, and then we'll have our writer go in and just start blogging for them on a regular basis. So that's the service we provide in a short elevator pitch.
So how do you find these types of clients? It almost make it seem like the same challenges that us agencies or freelancers have, like folks that need to be on the web are not on the web because they don't understand how to find things on the web, for the vast majority of them. So how do you find these types of clients that need this kind of content work?
Sure. Well, I try to practice what we preach. So we tell our clients or prospects that blogging is a long-term way to bring interest to your brand, get new clients. So really the only marketing strategies we have is our blog on GhostBlogWriters.com. So we write about things that our target clients might be interested in, the questions they're asking, and we research those things, publish them on the blog, try to earn their trust, and then if we've done our homework right on the target market, they're interested in the blogging service. So that's kind of how we find clients. We don't really do any online advertising. Word of mouth is one of the other ways, but blogging is the main one.
I actually have one of my notes here is to ask you specifically about content marketing versus pay-per-click versus SEO versus direct versus social. There are so many channels that we can sort of surf for our clients on nowadays. Is the blogging and search results, coming up in search results, still the majority of that traffic, or do you find yourself finding content in email marketing or maybe some social stuff maybe slightly a little bit better than the blogs, or is it just all blogging?
We focus on blogging. We kind of focus on blogging as kind of our main center for creating content, but we use that content in email marketing and in social media. So we might create one blog post, and from that I might create 20 different little snippets to share on Twitter or something like that, but the blog is the main thing, and SEO, or organic traffic from search engines is still a big source of traffic for at least our blog and a lot of our clients' blogs, but we always encourage them to build an email newsletter and to build social followings just to kind of diversify their traffic, because search is great and it's a good thing to focus on, but you never know. Things can change a little bit over time, or a competitor might come up and start overtaking your rankings, so it's always good to build kind of an email list, a social following, and build those other channels of traffic.
I'd say probably 8 to 10, maybe even shorter, maybe 5 years ago, the freelance developer could probably skate by just developing. The designer could probably skate by just designing. Now with platforms like WordPress, there's some crossover, right? Designers are becoming developers because there's plugins and there's snippets of code available out on the web, and then developers may be dipping their toes into designing because there's all kinds of online education and just years of using Photoshop. You can sort of get in tune to it a little bit more. I would reckon to say that your business is probably the same thing, where you have to kind of dip your toes into those different areas. So you can't just probably take on a blog post writing project without talking about, like you just said, SEO and social. How do you manage that when a client asks you for those maybe extra services? Because a lot of folks like to say, well, okay, yeah, I'll do some SEO too, and I'll take that on. How do you keep your tunnel vision for lower focus straight ahead for stuff like that?
Yeah, so that's been a challenge. If I'm understanding the question correctly, I used to, when I was first starting out with this business, I wanted to please every client, so
Exactly.
whatever they asked for, I would give them. And I think maybe to a point when you're starting out, you have to do that when you need every client. But now, as it's been going on, I've been trying to narrow the focus specifically to blogging. We've done, for example, we've written guides or white papers in the past, and even from that type of writing, we've tried to kind of narrow the focus. Or even we've written website content in the past, and we still might provide a little help or consulting in a few of those areas. But yeah, now we try to focus on blog posts. We try to be the experts on blog posts. It seems there's enough demand out there for that service specifically, and it's hard to think that way, to kind of narrow your focus. But it seems like people almost, if there's someone that wants blog posts, they'll come to us instead of someone that does blog posts, SEO, social media. They kind of look for the experts in each little area.
Do you remember back when you said no to everything else except for the blog posts and content creation? Were you scared? Do you remember a specific customer or a project that you were working on where you were just frustrated with too many moving pieces at the same time?
Yeah, it would get frustrating, and I think it would just get to be, I would be managing too many different moving pieces, and I would be frustrated with maybe the level of quality of work that we were providing, and I just kind of realized that for it to work, had to narrow the focus. It definitely was scary. It's hard to tell a client no, that you can't do so. I mean, that still is hard for me, but it's become easier each time, and I do try to find kind of people in my network, people that I know. So now if someone asks if we do social media marketing, I can recommend or refer them to somebody. So that's helped out a little bit, because if you can't do it for them, I think people understand. They don't want you to do something that maybe you don't even want to do. But as long as you can maybe help them get in the right direction, it seems to they'll still stick with you for, in our case, blog posts or whatever it might be.
We're going to talk about how you find freelancers and how you structure your business to work with other freelancers, but how do you find the right partners so far to be able to hand off clients to, hey, we need content, but can you develop our website? So how do you find other agencies, freelancers to partner with, to hand off clients to, or at least get referrals from, and vice versa?
Sure, it's just, I mean, I started reading blogs kind of in the marketing fields. That was just where my interest started, probably like 2008, 2009, and just started subscribing to blogs, and just over time, you kind of build your network of blogs you follow, people that provide different services, joining different social networks, even Twitter, the people you follow, get to know maybe on Google Plus or LinkedIn. And I've joined a few, even here where I'm located, some local groups, young professional type groups, and I've referred people to a local company. It's just one or two people that do social media services for local businesses, but now they've done social media for a few of our international clients. So you just get to know people, or for me it's been just getting to know people as far as those types of things go, just looking in the internal network to find people.
Was there ever a point in time where you were sort of afraid to get to know people, or just didn't really see that as something advantageous. And I guess I'll preface this by saying I talk to a lot of folks who I recommend build your network, connect with other people. They say, yeah. And they're just afraid to do it. They don't understand how to do it. Maybe they're not very social to begin with, and they're afraid to go to like meetups or WordCamps, as it's known in the WordPress world. Were you ever that person, and when did it click to say, I really have to start talking to other people, not just looking at my Twitter stream all day?
Yeah, it's tough, and it was tough for me. I would describe myself as on the bell curve of extrovert, introvert. I would definitely be on the introvert side. And it's not that I'm necessarily scared of going to meet people, but just for me, I'd much rather be at home looking on my computer, but I've kind of pushed myself to go to a few local events, even just talking to a few people, getting to know them, and maybe then following up with email. So maybe having a conversation with them, chit-chat for a little bit, but get their email address, go home, and then maybe start an email conversation, get to know them that way a little bit, or read their website or their blog. Just get to know them and then become more comfortable, and then maybe see them at the next young professionals meeting or whatever it might be. So then you feel like you know them a little bit. For me, a lot of times I struggle coming up with something to say to someone like in the moment. I like to gather my thoughts, prepare what I have to say, or just have time to think about it. So that's helped. Even with clients, if I talk to them on the phone, I'll make sure to follow up with email and get them to send a few thoughts with email. So I've had success doing it that way, but I definitely know well, I've met developers that are kind of similar to me, and so I definitely understand that feeling of maybe not wanting to go out and meet people, but it is one of the best ways to build your network. They can help you find business. You can help them find business. It's a good thing to have if you're in business for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's transition now to the technical challenges of writing blog posts for your clients. I mean, you mentioned that you'll get on the phone, you'll talk to them, maybe you'll do some research on their site before you sort of either pitch them or send them an introduction email or something like that. I'd imagine it's sort of that same approach when a toilet company comes to you and says, write some blog posts about me, and you have no idea about toilets, about plumbing. Give us the sort of intake or onboarding process that you use for this scenario.
Yeah, it's definitely, that's the biggest challenge, and we start out, well, I try on our website to ask qualifying questions so that someone that comes to the site, they read it, they can kind of maybe figure out for themselves if maybe it's not a good fit. So I might say we're looking for someone that is looking at blogging as a long-term investment, things like that. So then the people that contact me I know are pretty serious about it. But yeah, we still get prospects that come in and it'll be toilets or something like that. And so we always ask them to kind of describe their business, their personality a little bit. We get to know them, their business a little bit, and then we always ask about their target client or customer. Those are the two big things. And from there, what we can do, what I can do, or people on the team can do is we'll go out and we'll try to study who that target client or customer is. We'll look at the questions they're asking online. So it might be, I don't know, someone might ask the question, should I install a energy efficient toilet, or maybe what kind of sink is the best to install in my new house, or something like that. So we'll look for questions and kind of get into the head of the target customer, and then we just try to answer those questions with the blog posts in. And we work with the client early on. We'll say, we might write the article on our own. Here's 5 things you need to know about energy efficient toilets, and we'll have them look it over. They might say, yeah, 4 of those points, right on point, but I want to change this point. So we'll change it, and then we'll kind of remember that information for future posts. We'll just kind of learn from that, and on some occasions it might be we'll do the first post, we might get into the research, and we might just think, this is just too technical for our capabilities. We're not going to be a good fit, and then we'll have to tell the client that. But most of the time, we can kind of figure out ways to get the information that their target customer is looking for.
Well, for the folks that do listen to the show very often, they know that I've asked the question before about how do we sort of get away from the $500 client, and if not get away, how do we educate them to say that the $500 client needs to spend a little bit more with us to build them Facebook or whatever it is they're after with their web project. How do you upsell somebody who's just it's I thought I could get a blog post for $5. Like, isn't this Fiverr.com? I thought that's where I was.
Yeah.
No, this is a premium content creation agency. How do you elevate that person?
Yeah, I mean, there's what I've found is that there are clients out there more than willing to pay what it costs to get value for their business. So I used to watch this TV show. I can't remember what it's called, but I think Barter Kings is what it's called. But they would trade up and do things like this. And one of the things he said, one of the guys on there, is he loves selling people items that will help them make money. And I think that's big. So our sales pitch to get clients to pay what a blog post is worth is to say this blog post is going to make you money. You'll publish one blog post, it'll always be on your site for people to find, compared to even an advertisement that is only up there as long as you pay for it. So we take the angle of this blog post will help you make money, and then it becomes much easier for people to pay. So for a developer of WordPress, I mean, without our website, we wouldn't be able to get new customers. So spending thousands to have a site designed and developed, the cost is very easy to justify because the business probably wouldn't exist without it. So that's one of the ways we focus on getting past the people that are like, well, it should be $5 for a post. I mean, now I just tell them we can't provide that because I know there are customers coming in. Maybe early on you might have to do a little of that to build up your business a little bit, but later on you can say no, because there are definitely people that will pay what it's worth because they know they're going to get value for it. So.
And I'd imagine part of your onboarding or sales pitch, maybe even pre-sales pitch, has to do with retainers and getting folks onto a contract, so that it's not just a one-off blog post, but it's more of an evergreen effect and keeping them longer, so you have a higher lifetime value for your customer. How do you negotiate that? Is it a minimum buy-in that folks have to be with you?
Yeah, so we've never had a minimum buy-in. I've learned a few hard lessons where people might say, I'm interested in seeing a blog post on this topic. In the past, we've done those. Now I almost see that as a kind of a red flag. If someone's asking to see one post, they're not really interested in the long-term relationship. So now I just try to find those little red flags that kind of show maybe they're not interested in weekly posts, which is really, that's kind of our bread and butter, is weekly posts. It's a good area for us to be in. It works to get traffic. The client is comfortable with weekly posts a lot of the time. So yeah, now I just try to, or even when I respond to an inquiry, I'll say our most common situation is a weekly blog post. Here's the price, and the person might respond, well, I wasn't really looking for a weekly post, and then that's kind of the red flag, or they were thinking, well, I really wasn't thinking that price. So it's just saying things like that to try to qualify. So a developer might say, like, or they might look for someone that wants a website now one time, but maybe they also want help making adjustments down the road and updating their site and things like that. So yeah, we just try to ask qualifying questions now, or even put that information on our website to try to filter out kind of the bad leads that might come in.
Yeah. So do you have folks that are filling out sort of a quick questionnaire, and they don't even once they finish that, even if they don't qualify for that, then you probably won't get on the phone and talk to them. Is that sort of the scenario? They get the questionnaire, then they get the phone call, and then it's go into some sort of contract or month-to-month pricing, but for every week they get the blog post. Is that how it works?
Yep, that's how a lot of it works. I mean, our contact form's pretty straightforward instead of a questionnaire, but just over the years talking with customers, I've tried to answer a lot of the most common sales questions or questions that a prospective customer might ask. I'll just go ahead and answer those right on the website services page. So then by the time they get to the contact form, they just have to put in their name, website, business name, and then they're ready to go. But so yeah, that's kind of how we go about it. They'll contact us. I'll ask them about their business, their customer, and then from there, we'll just we'll go into some titles. We'll do a first post, and if all that goes well, then we set up a schedule, and then yeah, we just start invoicing them every month. Is usually how it works.
That's awesome. Let's talk about, because we are sort of running out of time. New format, everybody. We're trying to do all this in 30 minutes. Good luck to us. Tons of great information. I could talk about that even more. But now I want to move over to working with freelancers, right? How do you find these freelancers? How do you trust them? What's the process like for finding folks and onboarding them to your own company?
Yeah, I've been lucky. There's one page on the website that just says, I mean, I did a little keyword research to see what potential freelance writers might be looking for, so it has things like hiring freelance writers or something like that, but it's just one page. They come and I kind of explain the typical situation, part-time, kind of side job, earn a few extra $100 a month. Writing for 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 clients, and if they're interested, they'll contact. And I've been lucky. We get a good number of inquiries every month from a lot of different people, and usually from the first email that they send, I can kind of tell if they're going to be the right fit. So if there are a lot of grammatical errors or it's hard to understand their emails,
something that's fairly important in your industry.
Yeah, red flag, and then I'll say, all right, here, try to write this first post for this client, and they'll send it, and I'll tell them it's due Tuesday. You know, just give them enough detail to write it. Tell them it's due Tuesday. The good writers always seem to deliver it Monday. The ones that maybe are going to present a few red flags in the future deliver it Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. So I mean, you can kind of tell working with whatever it might be. I mean, timeliness is a big one for us, and then just looking at how well they can do the research to find contents for the article. That's kind of how we weed out the writers that fit versus the ones that might fit. So that just seems, going through that process early on seems to help out in the long run. So
are these tests that you have with smaller, are these actual tests where they're or actual client work that you're sending them, or do you have your own sort of testing where you're paying for them to write a blog post that's not going anywhere, but it's just a test to see if they can do it?
Right now, it's just client. So if a new client comes in, I'll contact a writer that has expressed interest. I'll say, here's the situation. I usually tell the client we need 5 to 7 days to turn this article around. So I might work with a writer. I'll tell them, get it to me maybe in 3 to 4 days. If they send it back and it's not something we can use, or I don't want to send it to the client, I might ask another writer to do a rush on that. So I'll say, hey, can you turn this around in 1 to 2 days? And then I'll go to a writer then that I know can get it done well, instead of, but I try to figure out ahead of time if a new writer is going to fit, but it doesn't always work out. But it seems to work out, or it's worked out pretty well so far.
How do you manage the culture or just the distributedness of your business with these freelancers? They might be taking on other gigs. They may have full-time jobs, working after hours. Who knows? How do you manage all of that to keep them on, your mission?
Yeah, a lot of them have full-time jobs or stay-at-home parents or college students that have varying schedules. So, or they might be full-time freelance writers. They have other writing gigs, which is fine. Kind of the way we work is we just create a schedule. We list out titles on the schedule 2 to 3 months out, and the writer is just responsible for making sure they can have the post done by the delivery dates, and then make sure it's scheduled to publish on the publish date. And if a writer ever starts getting behind, it's I'll just reach out to them, see what's going on, see if they're able to continue. But we're pretty, I mean, I don't get too involved in the other things they do. Every once in a while they might give me a little feedback on another firm that they work with or something like that. But I have sent out regular emails in the past, so maybe like a monthly update on, here's the update on GhostBlogWriters, and here's what it means for you. Maybe here's a few things to look for in the articles you're writing. So email works pretty well, and then I'm usually in contact with them every once in a while through email just to check in individually on how they're doing.
That's awesome. So from a day-to-day or week-to-week perspective, you are primarily doing project management and business development, I'd assume.
Yep, that's my main task now, is working with all the clients and taking on new clients. It's getting to the point now where I'll probably have to bring on someone to help with that, but that's my main job right now.
That's
within
awesome.
the business.
Well, congratulations for having that new pressure point that you have to address.
Yeah, I reached it about a year and a half ago with writing. I was still doing some of the writing myself. That's where the business started, and it was I knew I had to give it up at some point, but it was hard to bring on writers to take over the writing I was doing. But now, a year on, it's definitely been the right choice. So hopefully that works out next with the next phase.
If you were scared then, just wait till this happens,
Yep.
until somebody else is managing the client, and that's a whole new
Mhm.
realm of scariness. Let's
Yep.
talk about WordPress real quick, the technicalities of it. What are you using are you using any plugins or services, or are you actually making blog posts on other content management systems that are forbidden to be spoken of on this podcast?
Well, we do use other CMSs, but I'll always ask clients, and I try to work with clients that use WordPress. It's what I started using with my first personal blog in 2009, and that was just because the blogs that I was reading, they used WordPress, and I knew they used WordPress. It seemed like they were able to do everything they wanted to do, so that's why I started using it, and I've become used to it. But I've used other content management systems, and WordPress, for what we do for blogging, obviously that's what WordPress started out as. It is the easiest to use, it's the most intuitive, it's easy to explain to the writers. A lot of writers use it, which is good for us because they can upload posts to the clients' websites. So yeah, WordPress is definitely the one we use the most, and I definitely prefer to use it. As far as plugins, we don't use too many. I try not to use too many plugins. I try to keep the sites as fast as possible. We do use things like WordPress SEO by Yoast is a very common one, and it's very useful, simple to use. It's a good guideline for when we're blogging. We can add the SEO things. For my sites, I use Synthesis Hosting, so they have a few caching plugins that they do, but that was one of, actually about a year or two ago, one of the main focuses I wanted was for the site to be as fast as possible, so I went with them, and they had a few plugins that seemed to make it real fast. I use VaultPress to back up the content, would be another one that I use for my personal sites, and I'll recommend it to clients as well to say this is an easy add-on to do, and it keeps all your information for. You never like to think that you're going to lose all your content or anything, but it does seem to happen. So it's always good to be prepared, and even to have a developer on your team that can help you I mean, when that has happened to me in the past, I've reached out immediately to my developer and asked them if they can help, and they usually can. So, but a service like WordPress can help out.
Yeah, absolutely. One final question. Is there one technical thing WordPress can do better for content creation, for content publishing, for the display of the content? Is there one thing that you've seen over and over again you say, you know what, I think WordPress could do a better job at this?
Well, they just changed a big one. It was in one of the recent updates. I think we're on 3.9 now.
Mm-hmm.
I think in 3.9, it made it very easy for bloggers to paste blogs directly from Word. You didn't have to click the little Word paste button anymore. You just paste it. That was always the biggest challenge for writers or even the businesses that I worked with. People like to copy and paste. They like to do it from emails or whatever it might be. So any functionality that makes pasting and stripping that formatting out or understanding what the formatting meant and then converting that to web format so that it doesn't look all weird on the page. Anything around that is good. I think, so a lot of times we use the editor role with our clients. So they'll give us the role of editor, and it allows us to schedule, change the author of the post, and do everything without being an administrator. And that role is excellent. It might exist, but I wish maybe there was like a, I think it does exist. I should have it, but like a notification system, so saying like, this week's post is scheduled, just maybe a little ping to me or the client or whoever. It probably, I'm sure that does exist. I would just have to look into it a little bit. But.
Yeah, one of our good friends, Garrett Moon, runs a company called CoSchedule, and that's a great plugin for teams of folks who are scheduling content across a blog. There probably should be, and I'm sure he's already working on it, probably some kind of agency or enterprise level for folks like you and other folks who are running agencies that might do this type of thing across multiple sites to make it easier. So if not, I'm going to send that to him and try to get 15% equity in investment for that idea. Dayne, it's been an awesome interview. So much great stuff involved here with running your business and finding freelancers and the technicalities of all that and everything in between. So thanks a lot for doing the show. Where can folks find you on the web to say thanks?
They can read our blog at GhostBlogWriters.com. The social networks I use most are Twitter. I'm just at Dayne Shuda. And I'm also on LinkedIn, Google+, but those are the main ones to find me. Probably Twitter or the website are the ones I frequent the most.
That's awesome. And by the way, your site is awesome. I love your site. The design of your site is great.
I have to, well, that, as far as having good people in your network, I always tell people you need a developer and a designer on your team that you can count on. But I got lucky. My wife is a website designer, so that's definitely helped. She does an excellent job with.
Is she for hire?
Yep.
Okay.
She's for hire.
Awesome.
Very good.
Awesome stuff, Dayne. Everybody, GhostBlogWriters.com. Check them out, especially if you're a freelancer or an agency and you don't want to deal with the content side of things. Check out GhostBlogWriters.com. If you want to stay in tune to what's going on at the Matt Report and you want to know when great guests like Dayne are showing up to give us their awesome info, MattReport.com/subscribe. And then if you want to be part of a private community of folks who are talking about running their WordPress business, MattReport.com/join. Join the Matt Report Pro section, get all the great access to all of this awesome content. Dayne, thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time.